Greetings from Castle Goring, from Nikki, Aurora, and from me. Well, today we have quite a lot of ground to cover, but before getting into the nitty-gritty, I am going to say what's going to come at the end of all of this. However, before plunging in with the nitty-gritty, I am going to say that the other evening I had the most magical experience. I went to the launch of this book, George the Last, The Odd Adventures of an Improbable British Aristocrat, by Rachel Manley and Manley Drummond. Rachel is an old friend of mine. My brother was sweet on her when we were teenagers, and she was also, and still is, best friends of, her name was Carol Brennan. Her mother was a bitter, and she is now married to Danny Melville of the Bostitch Staple family. And Danny and my father were school chums, and we've all been friends forever. And it was just wonderful to go there. And her son, Drum, with George Drummond, who incidentally is the godson of the late King George VI. He was born at Windsor Castle. And his, I suppose, claim to infamy is that he ended up in Wormwood Scrubs with... Actually, when you read the book, you see how class prejudice played a huge part in him ending up in prison. And it's reassuring to know that it's not only the lower orders who end up having prejudice against them, but the upper orders as well. And anyway, it's an amazing book. It's very entertaining. It's great fun. And if I'm going to post a little clip of me and Rachel at the end of it, where I'm interviewing her at the book launch for 3 minutes. And if anybody would like me to interview her in greater depth, I am sure we can arrange it. But I would encourage all of you to go and buy this book. I loved every minute of it because the eccentricity and it captures the world in which I was born and brought up. And the total lack of impossibility, that everything was possible. And Rachel and I both got married very quickly. So it's nice to know that I'm not the only one who did that. And now, without further ado, I am going to plunge in with what Tom Taylor says. Can you all hear the screams from California? Yes, we can. I understand that things have derailed pretty seriously in California, because not only have Meghan and Harry's plans been swamped by the death of Charlie Kirk, and then the tremendous success of the Trumps clearly getting on superbly with William and Catherine and Charles and Camilla, and Meghan and Harry not even getting a look in the American press of any consequence. A little bit, Page 6 did come to the rescue, in that it reported on the Guardian report of where Harry confided in, when he was in Ukraine, that his conscience is clear. Oh, my conscience is clear. Doria, some more weed. I need to keep my conscience clear. Nothing like weed to keep it clear. Let me smoke it up clearly. And so not only is there that, sorry, I've dropped the computer. Oh, silly me. But he also has caused huge problems by opening up his mouth, and he and Meghan have huge problems as a result of some of the things that have been reported. But I'll get to that later, not for now. I'll get to that later because evidently there are big problems in Montecito. 10 years left time. Derek says, Donald Trump wasn't kidding when he said, I wish Harry a lot of luck because he's going to need it. He knew what he was dealing with. You know, Donald Trump is not everybody's cup of tea, to put it mildly. And a lot of people don't get Donald Trump because he does the unexpected, which actually all great leaders not only should do, but do. Now, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is necessarily a great leader. Time will tell. But certainly he has the element of the unexpected, which is fundamental to good leadership. Meghan is fighting a rearguard action and losing. That puerile posting about having her beau back, her beau. I mean, first of all, which Californian totty ever used the word beau? I mean, beau is a word that people of my age in Britain use. It's not a word that California totty ever used. But I suppose I've got to cock my finger as I take tea and show everybody how classy I am. Well, pathetic and inconsequential, really. And did it get any traction? Absolutely none whatsoever. But what was demonstrated very clearly at this state visit was A, how Meghan's big mouth and chippy oikish attitude and very uppity and do you know who I am? I'm a star of Suits. And who are you? You're just Queen Elizabeth II, broken down old woman. And as for you, Donald Trump, you're just the President of the United States. Now, when I become President of the United States, it's going to be a whole different man. It's going to be the best thing on earth. And it's been predicted that I'm going to be a head of state. So I'm going to be the President of the United States and the Queen of England as well. Yeah, isn't that fabulous? But can you imagine Meghan and Harry at Windsor Castle? I mean, can you imagine them, even if it hadn't been Trump? Talk about an actress missing the boat and not realizing that she was given the greatest platform on earth upon which to shine. But would she have shone properly, is the question. Because Meghan's ego is so monumental that once she ceased being an ensemble player on Suits, and this is fundamental, incidentally, to the reality of Meghan and the severe mistake and miscalculation that she has ruined her life with. Because she is so arrogant, she is so self-centered, she is so egotistical, she is so narcissistic that she couldn't see that she had the greatest platform she was ever going to have to shine brightly and to fulfill her ambitions to be the most popular woman on earth. Well, of course, she also needed to monetize, and that was never going to be possible. But let's keep that out of it at the moment. All she needed to do was play with a straight bat. But she couldn't play with a straight bat because she doesn't know how to play with a straight bat. She only knows how to play with a crooked bat, a warped bat. And so what did she do? She decided to create her own pathetic little platform, thinking it was going to be greater than the British monarchy's platform, which of course it has turned out not to be. But she genuinely thought she would be able to overthrow them, and she would be able to move on to California, and everybody was just going to be in awe of her. And she was going to have the greatest platform ever, because she couldn't stand being an ensemble player anymore. It stuck in her craw for years that she was just an ensemble player, number 6 on the call sheet at Suits. And when she linked up with Harry and realized she had effected a tremendous upgrade, all she needed to do was play ball and remember she was still an ensemble player. Catherine and William are ensemble players. Camilla is an ensemble player. Charles is an ensemble player. Philip was an ensemble player. Elizabeth II was an ensemble player. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, was an ensemble player. Very good at stealing attention for herself, but nevertheless an ensemble player. Meghan, I don't see why I should kick just because you've told me to kick. I'm going to be my own choreographer, and I'm going to do what I want. And if you don't like it, you're just going to have to lump it, and you're going to do without me, and I'm going to make a whole load of money. So, talk about miscalculation. She doesn't even get the attention she wants. Her postings have achieved nothing, no traction, no sales for was never. One tear left eye. M. Grosskopf says, one more thing, I can't help but snicker. In this slightly post-woke Trump 2.0, that his open disdain for Meghan and Harry is indeed being met with quiet smiles in the palace. He called them out early on. Your thoughts, Lady C? My thoughts? I'm delighted, and so is everybody else. Meghan and Harry have worked for it, they have earned it, and they're getting it. Just desserts. 10 chairs left eye, and maybe 1 or 2 on the right as well. Everyone has been absolutely delighted with the way the state visit went. The Americans, the Brits, everyone at the palace. Oh, well, let's have a few exceptions. Sadiq Khan spitting bricks because he was excluded. Because had he been included, he'd have found a way of spinning it against Donald Trump. Such discourtesy. I mean, when the late Queen entertained Ceausescu and his ghastly wife Elena, they were treated with respect. Normally, civilized people treat the guests with respect, even if they don't like them. But I suppose we're not dealing with civilized people when we deal with the likes of Sadiq Khan, whom President Trump has quite rightly called the most awful mayor ever. And believe me, he's an awful mayor. He's a wrecked London. Or, as I now call it, Lahore by the Thames. Everybody has been absolutely delighted with the visit. What people don't understand is, or some people don't understand, is that Trump is a great showman. So are Charles and William. Trump is an overt showman. They are covert showmen. But they all understand the significance of performance, as indeed did the late Queen and Prince Philip, as does Camilla. Now, you can perform authentically and be your authentic self. And if you are not, as Trump is, really a bit of a show-off, you will still perform and be true to your more retiring personality. While Trump is extravagantly true to his own. And it's not to everybody's taste, I have to say. I find some of the things he does outrageous and entertaining, and some just outrageous, and some actually very clever and commendable. So I'm a very mixed bag in terms of judgment on his performance. But everybody has been absolutely delighted with the way Trump has not only been greeted and how the whole visit went in terms of with the royals, but also in terms of with Sir Keir Starmer. Because let's remember, he went and stayed with Sir Keir Starmer at Chequers afterwards. And he then proceeded to effectively lecture Starmer on some of Starmer's more ridiculous policies, which even Labour supporters in this country now know are ridiculous. And he did make some very good points, as anybody who knows anything about history knows. Unchecked immigration is the destruction of a society. It's what caused the collapse of the Western Empire of Rome. Don't take my word for it. Research it yourself. Let me go on to what Scarlett says, because I could go on and on about this in a very political way, but I don't think I'm going to at this point. Scarlett says, "Dear Lady C, what do you think of President Trump's speech in which he told the king he had an amazing son, William, and his wonderful wife? I loved it. The grifters were not mentioned at all. Mrs. Trump and Princess Catherine are stunning, and we're having a good time. I love all the pomp and ceremony of the UK. It's really something special." Yes, it is. And also those Windsor uniforms that the men wear, lovely. And because they wear them instead of black tie. And President Trump, you talk about destroying with not only scant praise, but with no mention at all. It was quite beautiful, because he went on and on about, well, he kept on calling Catherine beautiful, and he was clearly much taken with Catherine. And I get why, because Catherine has a personality that very masculine men love. absolutely love. Don't misunderstand me. William is a very masculine man. Harry is really quite a little beta male wuss. William is not, nor is Trump. Now, I knew Ivana pretty well, and she was married to an old friend of mine whose first wife is still an old friend of mine. We go back over 50 years. And Ivana always said that Trump was a very good husband and a very good father, an utterly dedicated family man. Sorry, as indeed is William. That's something they have in common. Catherine is a very dedicated family woman. So is Melania. Ivana was, but Ivana also ran the plaza, etc. But Melania is much more focused on the domestic than Ivana was. That's something else they have in common, because they have public lives, private family lives. It was beautiful how Trump did it, because he genuinely meant what a wonderful son William is, and he is. And he also kept on saying how beautiful Catherine was, which she is. And she's the sort of woman he absolutely adores, because she's very feminine. She is very conventional and conservative, but she is very intelligent and strong. Trump, I know, likes strong women. He doesn't like dolly birds. He doesn't like pushovers, at least not maritally, and not, shall we say, above the dinner table. Let's forget about elsewhere. There are many things that the Trumps and the Waleses and the King and Queen have in common. They're all very committed to the welfare of their country as they perceive it to be. And if you don't agree with their tenets, that's another matter altogether. But you can't deny that they are not committed to the welfare of the country as they see it to be. And he didn't need to mention Harry or Meghan. Their absence was in itself eloquent, and just by praising William, he will have known, because let's remember, Trump is a showman, and Trump is also somebody who is very much in tune with the media. He was a media star, let's not forget that. After he was a real estate developer, he was a media star. He knows he doesn't need to say or do a thing. By not saying and doing anything, he throws down the gauntlet and the press pick it up and run with it. And they're busy slashing at Harry and Meghan. Not the tear left eye. My heart just breaks for them. Goring Jacker says, Catherine and Melania seem to have a real connection. They appear relaxed with each other, like two women who understand each other without having to say words. You've spotted it in one. My understanding is that Catherine and Melania got along like a house on fire. They are both very committed family women. They both believe in early learning. Baron evidently has a very high IQ, and Melania, from a very early age, made sure that she was very closely involved with his education and with the formation not only of his character, but of his belief system and intellect. And Catherine is doing the same with her 3 children. They have a lot in common. And I'm told they get along like a house on fire. Also, they're both used to mavericks. William, for all his conventionalism, is a bit of a maverick. You can be a conventional maverick, and William is one. This is something people don't realize. William hoes his own furrow. That's what he does. William is a bit of a maverick. So is Donald Trump. It's only natural that people with a lot in common would get on. Also, both women are very aware of the gift of beauty that God gave them, and each of them uses it in a positive and constructive manner. Now, I have to say, I didn't like everything that Melania wore, but I loved everything Catherine wore. I didn't like everything Melania wore, but that is not to say that I would fault her choices, because Melania is the First Lady of the United States of America. And what people don't understand is, first of all, she was honoring Britain, for instance, wearing the Burberry coat, but she did everything with a twist, which is what you should do. But also, what people don't realize is that not only did she need to do things with a twist, but that she has to be aware of the fact that she cannot come across as regal. She has to come across as presidential. Now, Jackie Kennedy used to come across as regal, but that is no longer appropriate nowadays, and certainly not as the First Lady of the United States of America, married to a president who some people say wants to be king. So think about it. It's the image she has projected has been not regal, it's been stylish. She certainly looked good in everything she did. You couldn't fault it on the grounds of taste. And it was not regal. It was presidential. Clever, 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 clever woman. Then, of course, Catherine and Melania showed exactly how much they have in common. Now, after the banquet at Windsor Castle, the following morning, they are both very dressed down. Melania more so than Catherine, incidentally, which again, presidential rather than regal. And they go and they are sitting on the grass with the Scouts squirrels at Frogmore Gardens, outside of Frogmore House, where Harry and Meghan had their reception, and near where Harry and Meghan had their cottage, which is actually a very large cottage, incidentally, and was certainly good enough for the Grand Duchess Xenia, the Tsar's sister. So why it would not have been good enough for Meghan Markle is beyond me, but there we go. I suppose the Grand Duchess Xenia had some sense of proportion, while Meghan Markle has absolutely none. But that again showed their links and their interests, because both of them are very family orientated, and both of them understand that the children are the future of the world. So I hope that answers that question. Jennifer Tucker says, question, I looked at pictures of the banquet table. Why are the seats so close together? Certainly they must have room for a little more space. The chairs were so close, people must be shoulder to shoulder. People are shoulder to shoulder. And there's a reason why you have them so close together. Because there is no such thing as enough space to have everybody you need to have at a state banquet. So you cut it down to the absolute bone, and then you cram them in. It's as simple as that. And it's not about comfort, it's about the occasion. And if you have to make a bit of a sacrifice by being hugger-mugger with your dining companions to the left and to the right, so be it. It's as simple as that. If they could get in an additional 40 people, it would still be many people short of the totally desirable number. So I hope that answers the question. I don't think people realize to what extent this state visit took place against a game-changing backdrop in more ways than one. First of all, there is the political crisis taking place in the United Kingdom at the moment, where the country is in absolute turmoil as a result of the ineffectuality and the policies of this present government, which I have to tell you, they remind me very much of Jamaica in the 1970s under Rachel Manley. No disrespect intended to my old friend Rachel Manley, who actually makes it clear in her book that she found the reaction of her friends and of her world excruciatingly awkward and embarrassing and everything unlivable, really, because of her father's, quite frankly, bizarre political decisions. Because he was a democratic socialist, as indeed is or claims to be Keir Starmer. And each of them has up to now overseen the destruction of a country's economy. And that is taking place right now as we speak. Don't think that everybody in a position of some influence or authority in this country is not gravely concerned at the state of this country. Aside from the constant interference by the police in people's private lives and postings, when they will, and it was just in the newspapers a day or two ago about somebody who the police came and wanted to know about something that they posted because it had upset somebody. And the woman quite rightly said to them, "Excuse me, why aren't you catching thieves and burglars, etc.? Why are you bothering me?" And finally they backed off. There's all of that going on. And make no mistake about it, everybody in any position of any authority, or shall we say care in this country, is seriously concerned at what is going on in terms of the misuse of the police force by this government. There is also the fact that the Charlie Kirk assassination has impacted very adversely upon the Democrats in the United States who I am trying to find a way of putting it that doesn't antagonize Democratic supporters, because many Democratic supporters are outraged that Charlie Kirk could have been killed for espousing views and values that many of them share. I mean, okay, he wasn't woke, and some Democrats are woke, but not all Democrats are woke. And so there's all of that going on as well in the United States. But in this country, we have a government that is ineffectual. It's driving us into penury. It is borrowing money left, right, and center. It's making every mistake that Michael Manley made in Jamaica in the 1970s. In 1972, when Michael Manley was elected, Jamaica had one of the fastest growing economies on earth. By the time he left in 1980, the shelves were bare in supermarkets. I know, I used to go and see them. You'd have flour and nothing else, or sugar and nothing else. It was like being in the Soviet Union, in Soviet Russia. I know, I was there as well. Unbelievable. So all of this is taking place as we speak. And this has been the backdrop to the state visit. And this has been the backdrop to Harry coming here and thinking that he was going to ratify his status as half in, half out, with the collusion of various members of the mainstream media. And it was going to work, and they were going to be able to put pressure on William and Catherine, and they were going to be able to cause trouble for William and Catherine, and they were going to be able to make mischief and use Harry and Meghan and decide, well, as Tina Brown had the unmitigated gall to say, Harry is, and in not quite so many words, but the point was, oh, thank God Harry's back in England to show William how it's really done. Cheeky chappy. Harry is a middle-aged man. He's not 19 or 22 any longer. Cheeky chappy is not appropriate to a 40-something-year-old man. Tina, grow up, wake up. It's ludicrous, but it goes with the narrative. And also, let's remember that the Tina Browns of this world and many of the other columnists in the United States of America, they are playing to a completely different audience from what we in the United Kingdom are interested in. Tina and many of her ilk need to play to the gallery and to try to make Meghan and Harry back into the desirable creatures that they used to be. Well, it's not working. My understanding is that Netflix is pretty much over them, and anything that limps along is going to be limping along in the hope that Harry is going to be able to betray his family yet again. Of course, with Meghan's connivance. And I think everybody knows that Meghan certainly has nothing against pieces of silver. And if she can encourage Harry, shades of Iago with Othello, to wield the dagger that slew Desdemona. Well, actually, it wasn't a dagger, but you get my drift. It wasn't a dagger. But I won't. This is YouTube. I need to be careful how I say things. I think you get the point I'm making. And what is behind all of this? Meghan doesn't want Harry to come and make up with his family, I am told. Meghan is dead eager to keep the divisions going. But more of that in a little while. Okay? I think I've said enough for the moment. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be addressing. Okay, thank you so much. Take good care. Godspeed. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and a bientôt. Bye-bye. So, this
and that's Z. Yeah. Two T's, yeah. Anyone with a single T, I'm not sure about. It has to be a two T.
One with a single T.
Ooh, scary. Yeah. There has to be two T's. Yeah, no, whatever you're happy to put in, it's just great to have a coffee.
So this is my old friend Rachel Manley.
Yes, we go way back.
Really?
We certainly do. We haven't seen each other for 50 years, literally.
50 years.
Yeah, but we grew up together, and yes, and she's still as pretty as ever, and I can't wait to read the book, and I hope everybody else is going to buy it and read it as well.
It's a very good book.
Don't write proofs, not lies.
We're getting a lovely council message. You should see the people who got back in our office. It's very much.
Yes? We think we made a new genre this one. Fictional memoir. Probably half of it is.
So Rachel, so tell us for a second about it. Tell us for a second about writing this. What has it meant to you?
Well, it's been interesting because usually I write about the dead, and all of a sudden I'm writing about a living person with the most incredible story, and every single day I found out something new about George, and every single day I discovered that something I thought I knew about George was completely wrong. And working with my son to unravel who his father was a very unusual but very rewarding experience. But at the end of it, to be honest, we're still not sure who he is.
Well, but that in some ways is good, because if the mystery continues,
Yes,
then
exactly.
it means there's something to unravel. You know?
It's true. I think that the greatest gift you can have is to live your life, and at the end of it still be a mystery to your family and friends. That's very powerful.
But I think what's wonderful about you and George and is that you've been divorced for so many years and still your family. Isn't it wonderful?
The friendship is incredible. Our friendship has never missed a step. And in a funny way, I think George is the kind of person just doesn't stay in one place forever. So not staying in a marriage is quite normal. But the friendship, which is not a kind of physical being there, but it's an emotional, spiritual state, has never ever faltered.
Well, I think everybody should buy the book and read it. Really. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you.